think we learned Sif Test, correct? Or we finished Sif Test? I did Ches? No? Okay. Let's start with Ches. Sorry about that. Chava says, Nusan Yisrael K'dei L'Alu Eish. Yisrael put the fire, K'dei L'Alu Eish, the Salka, and he took it off. Ibua V'dei Gechovim, Ve'erzira, the guy put it back, is Osa. He says, Elim Kem Egia L'Machem in the Resua. That means if the guy took it off, again, a guy, he put the food onto the fire, and before had a chance to cook a third, the guy took it off. Then the guy put it back on. So then it's a problem of Bishul Akum. Now obviously, according to us Ashkenazim, if you put the fire on, it's not a problem. It's according to Spartan. Or, the guy put the fire on, and you just put the food on. And then the guy, for some reason, took it off, and put it back on. So if it's kamachel and the resu already, the third cooked, then it's okay. But if it's not cooked a little bit, then it's not okay.
That's according to...
According to us too, if the guy put the fire on. Let's say it's only because we pass in.
When you put the fire on, we put the pot on.
Yeah. But here, if the guy put on the fire, you just put on the pot, then the guy took off the pot, put it back on, it's not good. Okay, this is a simple halacha, not so complicated. I know there's I'll tell you what, there's an interessante shach. Let me elaborate. There's a famous question in Hilchos Shabbos. What happens if a goy messes up and then he comes and fixes it? Is it also or not? When we go to Uman, the Shoshana, the airlines very often misplace the luggage. And then they come and deliver it on Yom Tov. It happened to me once. I had no big Shabbos, nothing. And on Yom Tov it arrived, my luggage. So there's a din, which many people don't know this. If a guy does something for you, you're not allowed to have a nuah from it. If a guy comes in and turns the lights on for you, even though I didn't ask him, you cannot, only if the guy put it on for himself, he needs the lights on Shabbos. Guy does something for you, you're not allowed to have a nuah from it. Very, very important halacha. Hopefully we'll learn one day that simon on Hilchos Shabbos. What? Yeah. Now the question is over here, when the guy messes up and is fixing his mess up.
That's not a problem if you told him to do it. If he's doing it because he wants to do it then.
No, even he wants to please me.
You're on the airline, I can bring it to you on Shabbos or on Sunday.
Let's just say a guy comes in and he sees you in the dark, he puts the lights on for you and he goes out. Then on his own, you're not allowed to enjoy the light. It's a halacha. Now, what happens? The guy is fixing the light and he made a mistake, turned it off, and then he puts it on. The Bach is a famous Bach, and El Yerabba and Hilchos Shabbos says it's okay. I didn't ask him. Who asked you? Same thing with the luggage. So the Bach here says the same sort of here. If I didn't ask the guy to take off the fire, and he goes, he takes it off and puts it back on, he messes my thing up, he wants to say there's no Bishul Akum. He wants to say Lekula. That means I put the food on the fire. Let's say the guy put the fire. I put the food on the fire. And he doesn't, He comes in and he messes it up. That if he puts it back on, the Bach wants to say is not a problem. The Shach argues on it. Interessant halacha. Not so much gay, but I'm just saying.
Is it work for Bishul and Shabbos?
Bishul and Shabbos, what in the Moshe?
Pulls out accidentally, pulls out the crock pot. And then he puts it back.
Yeah, and it should be okay. Yes, same thing. Because over there it's totally cool. Yes, it's okay.
Huh?
Yeah, that's okay.
That's a huge thing.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, yeah.
That's when there's a blackout.
So that's a different question. That goes into a different locham. Okay, let's learn Sif Tes. In Bishul, Oiv the Elchonon, Kamachem ben the Resur, the Gamre Yisrael, and he had finished it. Yesh le'asor it's oser, Eli kemi Shabbos of Yom Tov Shefset Meruba B'dava. let me explain this. There's a machlokes in the Rashba and the Rosh. What happens if it's cooked? You know what Kamachim was? That's a name. Rashi learns, it's very interesting. Rashi learns a name of thieves. In one place, Rashi says cannibals. I don't know why. But Rashi says, the people are thieves. One place Rashi says thieves who have no time to wait till things get cooked, and they eat it rare, a third cooked. The Rashi learns a third, the Rambam says a half. We always make that's a third. So if the guy cooked it a third, and he finished it, that's the question. The machlokes are Rishonim. Some Rishonim says the guy cooked it a third, that's called cooked. And afterwards finished, you can't fix it. So the Mechaber says you could be Mekel Erev Shabbos. If you're very desperate, this is what happened. The guy cooked it a third. The Ramuz says we are Mekel. And I explained it at the beginning. We hold if it's not fully cooked, and you added a drop cooking, it makes it Bishul Yisrael. So let's say, I don't have a good mashal, because it's very hard to give it, but let's say it's not fully 90% cooked just, and it still needs another 5% of cooking. It was 90% done by the goy, and you did 5%, it makes it Bishul Yisrael. So very often, women call me up, the guy, the shiksa put out all the food, and they realize, so just pick up the pot, and put it back down. For as long as it's not fully cooked, it becomes Bishul Yisrael. But you gotta finish that. You can't say, look, 90% is good, and if I wanted it, I could have backed on. You have to make that 5% cooking, understand? You can't say, there's such a concept in the Gemara. If I really wanted to put it down, I could have. You literally have to make sure that 5% gets cooked by you, and then makes it Bishul Yisrael.
That's only if she says,
This is a common problem. People, you don't chap yourself. Often, sometimes people have devoted shiksas and they don't chap. And more than once have people have asked me this. That, I wasn't home, I was late, and she decided to put supper up.
You said that if Sfardim do it, that it would be more problematic?
Sfardim have it, yeah. Sfardim. Mechaber is very machmer. The Sfardim are very, he's not here, I was Sfardi this week. The what? Fear we have more makel, much more makel. By fear we learned that even you just make it more crisp, how you say crisp, or toasted. Just make it a little toasty, it makes it better already.
People make Shabbos all these frozen things that you have to finish baking in your own oven.
Then it's not a problem. It's not a problem. The rabbi told me over here when you lived in Hong Kong, so the Rav told him all you got to do with the bread is make it toastier. That's based on Avnei Nezer. The Avnei Nezer holds, and other Achronim hold, Avnei Nezer especially, holds that if you just make it a toastier, it's good enough to take away the pasakim.
You go to Rab's, buy any bread that has all you want and stick it in the oven.
No. That was in Hong Kong, there was no other bread. There was no bread there.
Okay, so there you go. You're making the whole...
He is right. He is right. Truthfully, you're right. I always like to be honest. In Halacha, you're right. It doesn't say you have to be machma. So the reason why we're not noig that way, because the Avnei Nezer is a chiddush. And not everyone agrees to this Avnei Nezer, you know that. But according to Avnei Nezer, you'll be right. The reason why you're asking, so why come no one does it? Because the Avnei Nezer is a chiddush, and we're saying when there's a need.
And we said that if it's the middle of the night, and Vons is the only place that's open, where they have the OU bread, but Schwartz's is closed, then it's the same as being in Hong Kong.
Yeah. Or Matzah Pesach. Matzah Pesach. Many people can't wait for a pizza. It's what the pizza? Go to the thing, buy yourself make a toasty, make yourself a homemade pizza. The teenagers knows what I mean. The teens know how to do it. Okay. So anyway, so that's the Mechaber shit. The we remove paskin that you finish the bishul takes away the problem of bishul akim. So this is a big kula for Ashkenazim. The Sfardim have to be machmer like the Mechaber. That's why the Sfardim, when it comes to bishul akim, are very, very machmer. It's very, very chumadi. Okay. Let's not many. Let's see if you Haniach Yisrael Gabe Gechulam Amamis Shtohiru it is Bashal Aleim. You put it on coals that's dimming, there's no way it was going to get cooked on it. See, it's so hard for us to understand this because in the good old days, The part of a cook is you have to figure out how much coals and how long the coals is going to last. And it was the whole trick. Today, you just put on the fire, and today even more. Many of the ovens have how much temperature, the digital, And I was someone's house, and he has the cooktop is in the tiles. You don't see nothing. The lights go around it to make sure you don't touch it, you shouldn't burn yourself. This is a new shtick the wealthy people have. So he showed me how it works, that he pushes a dial, he wants it so much heat, it's 120, whatever, that's how much. There's nothing to, everything is computerized. You know what I mean? So he said, maybe I don't need a blech. Problem is you do need a blech, I told him. You can't, but that's how you cook all week long. So there's no... Okay, so anyway, the Amma means the coals were dimming. Because what you put in our place, there's no way it was going to get cooked. So if the guy finished the cooking, again, we're talking about we Ashkenazim, you didn't make the fire. Because if the saw made the fire, and the guy just stirred it to make the fire, then it's okay. It's going to either to Svardim, we stop making fires, nothing, or the guy made the fire and he put it. It's a very simple halacha, and the reason Mechaber says it because it's a Lashon Rambam based on the Gemara. All right, this is simple. The most important thing for all young people is, if you have a shiksa at home, is to put in. People have it. Someone just told me also put it in. You have a camera. And you could see it on your computer, your wife could see it on her computer, and exactly what's going on. And it's good to tell the shiksa, because then, I've told you, there's many horror stories where people have told me he left the children with the shiksa. Anyway, Zig Machaba.
2 weeks ago, I heard on the way home on the radio that ADT doesn't send your cell phone advertising.
What?
Many people have here an alarm system. They install a camera, you can see on your cell phone, you can see what's happening in the kitchen.
On the iPhone, I was told. Not every phone. So my shul told me there's got to be an iPhone. The iPhone has an app for it, the other one's not yet.
They want to use cameras for holy soul. If someone watches the screen, it's good enough.
Yeah, but the only they want to do it. The only problem is you need someone to make sure the kelim are clean. So that's there's ways to do it. There's ways to do it too. Anyways,
You could have all kosher milk.
yes, the rabbi told me in Brazil. That's so far away. That's why they did it in Brazil. They wanted to do it.
You don't need to go after the Rabbanim of Eretz Yisrael, there's machlokes.
The Rabbanim Eretz not to do it.
No, in Eretz Yisrael they do it. And in America they don't do it yet. Here they don't know who to follow.
They're doing it so well, but they don't do it in America because no one has guts. That's the problem.
Well, that is true. No.
Yeah, but at Halacha it's perfectly okay. It's perfectly okay. You should know. I have a mechutin who I don't say he runs the shgocha in Chicago. He has in each store, and he could see the mashgiach is there. Asked him, why didn't the mashgiach have the cameras? He says because sometimes you can't see clearly the camera what's cooking there, what's going on there. But the mashgiach said he was there. He says you're not there in the store.
Yeah.
So he's the mashgiach on the mashgiach. Arva Tzurich. Okay, zug the machaber over here.
We could get rid of non-OED stuff and just everything could be Chol Yisrael.
Well, if you
They would have such a system.
have such a system,
Cameras across the board.
yeah, but these places are not
No, but they're all certified OU, most of them already anyhow. So, you know what I mean? There is
No, but-
Ashgacha.
yeah, but
Hershey's has Ashgacha.
you have to make the milk chol v'sol. That's not.
Right.
The farms are not small farms. You know what I mean?
But it's only the milking room that you need to be worried about.
Yeah, just a milk.
I heard from Rabbi Tachman they do have cameras on the whole operation. There's the cameras on
They
the
have to have a mashgiach watching.
You know, watching. They don't. But here right now they don't do it here because it's just a mom or pop farm. I don't know.
Doesn't sound complicated.
But New York, they want to do it. They're pushing it because in New York, I think I mentioned over here, that now everyone uses the same farm. The Hava and the J&J and the Square, You know, everyone thinks that their mikveh is Tauber in their private mikveh. It's the same mikveh. I tell people, it's same mikveh.
They do it by the non-Chol Yisrael places.
They do it.
See how much business that will take. Imagine
Yeah.
if you could buy a Hershey bar instead of buying a Oshkosh bar or whatever it is. That'll take that's probably why they're not so quick to run to the cameras.
I don't think that's the reason. I think it's just no.
Always about the money, Rabbi.
Okay. So the Machaber, Sif Yidalef. We said this? Yeah, this is a very important Machaber, boy sign. Eniach Yisol Agabe Eish. V'eniach Ovi Chovan Shamar Hupach Ba Ve'indem Silka Ovi the Chomat Shal Igil Machm in the Suez Mitter. You're not sure what the Shiksa did. You know the Shiksa, took off the pot. You're not sure she took off the pot, put it back on. The fire went out, didn't go out. You Sufik Bishul Akum. Machaber says Sufik Bishul Akum is not a problem. That's the Machaber Shutta. So this is very important. This happens a lot this Shala. You know what I mean? And this happened more than once in the beginning. I don't know what was going on after Levi. Rabbi over here, but I remember they used to come in, used to happen in the shul next door there. I don't know what happened in the beginning. One of the ones that was not sure who put it in, who plugged it in. Now it's a better system. Remember once they came into me asking that it's very possible that the guy plugged in the crock pot. So it's not a problem.
Here it's different. Here we know that the Yid did it.
No, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference if Sophie gave the Yid put in the crock pot or the guy put it in. You have no idea. It's Afabi Ken, there's a Sufik Bishul Akim is Meta. Doesn't make a difference. It doesn't really, it's just talking over the behavior. The Achranim will say that. Doesn't make a difference. But kids, if you're Mesupik, what happened? You don't know. You send down your guy and you're not sure the guy put it up or not. I remember the case exactly.
The guy's not there to ask, is that what you're saying?
Guy's not Naaman. Anyways, if a guy says that he put it up, he's also not Naaman. I once explained to you, guy has no namunas. If he tells you today is Monday, check it out. The guy has no namunas.
I'm just trying to understand this case. If I have a kitchen and I have a Jew and a non-Jew working there, and the crock pot's up, but now I don't know who was the one that put it up, and I can't ask the Jew.
But the Jew's not here, then you could be soymich lekula and you could eat it. This is what happened more than once in shuls. I'm trying to remember the case, but what it was they came to me, asked me, they're not sure who plugged in the thing. The shiksa now. It's people at private, they also ask me. The lady told me, I know she had guests, a lot of guests, Yisukas once, and she tells me, I know I didn't plug it in. So they did the shiksa of one of my children, and the children were also patchkin, and also don't remember who plugged it in. So it's okay. Chont is anyways okay. The problem is the meat in the chont. Sofik Bishul Akim is meta. You can't set up a system that way, but the Sofik Bishul Akim is meta. That's a clown. Okay. Mechaber Edremu adds, "Geen kol Sofik Bishul Akim is meta. Kyoitzu is meta." Now,
Is that a kol sofik?
yeah, it's a big chayim. That's what the chayim want to say. Yeah, you can't set up a system that way. But believe it or not, these things happen. You have you're at home and you're not sure who do. So zugim machaba dugim ketanim shemolcham yisrael. Fish that he saw was moilichet. Oyev yichov doesn't make a difference. Hein commission is bash mixes bishul im tzolm of the gichovim achkach miturim. He says small fish that was salted, then the guy cooks it is not a problem with bishul akim, because it's edible after the salting it. So I want to say this Taz over because he's I forgot his name. He's not here. He quoted that this is the Taz which I saw all the Elchonon quote. I mentioned this already once. The question is, if I have food, if I do it one way, the tuna fish, I do it one way, it'd be bishul akim. The way to make it into tuna, it's not bishul, it's not oil shulchan aruch. So here, everyone brings this Taz. The Taz says, ask the kasha. Look in the Taz Yid Beis. It's kedai to see it again, the Taz. He says, the kiven shen lechunin k'moshin chaim al de melich ein bo bishul akim. Val ha-melich et chilul ha-gosi shegosi rak b'bishul shelo yel de'ish. Okay, that's simple. So the Taz asks the question, ein la'akshis, hu afil al de'ish ein kam bishul akim, don barine begemurim duken ktanim eine oilen shulchan malochem. Right nowadays, I never saw small fish. You know, I don't know, when I was growing up in Borough Park, the Italians, when I moved to Borough Park, I remember they used to buy the small fish, a lot of small fish. It wasn't something, it was a different type of a fish. Whatever. I think maybe it was anchovies, maybe. Small fish.
They bought them fresh, they didn't buy them in
Yeah, the fish, right. So anyways, he says, so he's asking small fish and not oil shulchan malochem. Teretz bis Yosef, the ach amrich oile mehem. So here you have small fish, the same fish. You salt it and cook it, it's oil shulchan malochem. You cook it without salting it, it's not oil shulchan malochem. So the only reason why it's okay when you salt it and cook it, and then it's oil shulchan malochem, because it's edible before that. So you see, you can have a fish. One way is a problem of Bishul Akum, one way is not a problem of Bishul Akum. You understand? When it's not salted, it's not a problem of Bishul Akum, because it's not oil shulchan malochem. Once you salt it, now you made it into a choshev of fish salt, so maybe it should be a problem. It's not a problem because you could eat it without cooking. Whenever a guy cooks, you can eat it without it. But the chayim being a rai from here, if you have something, if you make it one way, it's going to be Bishul Akum. If you make it another way, it won't be Bishul Akum. That's what the case is talking about here. You follow? You have small fish. If you don't salt it, it's not oil shulchan malochem. It's no problem whatsoever the guy cooks it. Once it's salted, it's oil shulchan malochem. So we need a special heter that since it was edible after the salting, that it's not a problem Bishul Akum. So you see clearly, you can have an item, you do it one way, it's Bishul Akum. You do it the other way. Really, I explained it by rice. That's with the rice. Rice itself is oil shulchan malochem. But they make rice bread, it's not all no one's interested in rice bread.
So Melicha is not considered Bishul.
No, Melicha is not considered Bishul. That's another halacha, we'll soon see. Yes.
So how is small fish even salted?
Nowadays, it's small. I never saw small fish is not a Moshe Malchan. Yeah, nowadays we need doesn't. And I always look at weddings what they serve. They never serve. They always serve.
So, I would discuss it with tuna, if you cut it up, it's the same thing, like a herring, right? For a herring, it's full, it's...
You don't serve it at wedding herrings. I'm sorry. It's not a choshev of fish. And we love it. We Jews love it, but they do not serve it.
No, like they have like a full one that, okay.
I never saw it. I live in a very wealthy community. I went to a lot of interesting things, and everyone likes to outdo each other. I never saw
Well, let's just say like a big one, if you cut it in pieces, it's no longer kosher, it's the same thing. If it's a big fish.
it. Depends how it's made. How it's yeah.
It's considered big,
Right.
it's kosher, in pieces, not kosher.
I don't know if you're right in pieces. It's the way it's made. Moshel tuna, the way it's made, they will never, even it's raw, without cutting to pieces, they will never make this right now. Even it's how's it called? It's steamed. They don't serve steamed fish. It doesn't look good. It does not happen. Whatever it is, it's not served that way. It's a fact. So the Chayim do say mashed potatoes is not oil shulchan malochem, and potato chips neither is not oil shulchan malochem. So you're allowed to eat OU potato chips. I don't know, Chabad people always ask me this, and it looks like in Chabad community, right? I don't know. So many people tell me that the Chabad.
Jewish businesses, you have the Lieber's brand potato chips. Nobody would buy them if you were able to just buy Camel chips or, Lay's.
Okay.
In Williamsburg, they don't sell it either.
Huh?
In Williamsburg, they don't sell.
I know they don't.
And in Borough Park, they don't sell it either. Why not?
No, they do.
Just saying, no,
No, they will not sell a product that doesn't have a chesed hechsher on it.
right. They don't
And
sell-
I would say publicly, it is a joke of a joke because the Osaimech and the OU. Anyways, I don't mind being recorded. I was at a wedding, and a younger man comes to me. The guy who saw me at a wedding in my shoe comes to me, younger man. He asked me, "Who works for the RCC over here?" Do I know? Frage ich him in Yiddish, "Why do you want to know?" He says, I don't want to say the name of the company. They have a hashgocha, as I call it, Tauber in their private mikveh. Their hashgocha. And what happens is they know the candies is from the OU. So the OU over here, he heard that one of the RCC members goes and he gives hashgocha. Why does he want to know? Because the wholesaler, they have to buy from a wholesaler in New York. They want to cut out the wholesaler and buy it straight from the manufacturer. Hey man, is umgegangen to go to the company. Just wanted to know. His boss told me, go there, I'm trying to cut out the wholesaler in Manhattan. So I said, what? Was Meinster? He never went. He called OU and they told him it's it. So now they charge you. Many of these shgochas work that way. Not just many of these shgochas work that way. Mamish.
That they charge you for what?
For no reason. Just they put the label, don't even check it out.
It's someone else who does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, of course. But the whole kasha industry works that way. Because any product is comprised of many different ingredients.
So,
which might be certified
so
by several
the
different
truth
companies.
is that even the OK has to rely on the OU for many things. It's a fact. We live in California, and the Mashgichim work, a lot of Lubavitcher Shluchim work for Shgochas, and they all tell me we have to rely on the OU, and the OU happens to rely on the OK. The OU does not rely on some of the Chassidish Shgochas. So it's worthless. You know, some yes, some not. They know which ones are reliable. I'm just saying. But if a guy says he only eats Lubavitcher Shgochim items, he doesn't know what he's talking about. There's no such a thing. There's no. I'm just saying, there's no such thing. Every product that you buy.
No, but like I remember many years ago, when I was in the food industry, so like take Geffen for instance. Geffen, which is all their products are private label products. So they would always have whatever the hefsher is, let's say it's an OU or an OK, but they would always have to add a Chassidish hefsher, whether the Volva or a Gruber or one of these different hefsherim, so that in these neighborhoods, people would buy it. Because if that extra hefsher is not there, it won't sell.
That's true. That is true. Okay.
Supporting your fellow Yiddish, right? Dishonesty is not tzedakah, it's dishonesty.
So anyway, this is important. The Dugim Ketanim is the Taz. This is the Taz that the Chronim bring down. This is very important that you see from the Taz an item, the way it's made. That's why potato chips is not a problem. Bishalakim. Besides that, Rabbi Eichenblatt, Yishai Eichenblatt told me that the way they make potato chips, today everything is scientifically done. How's it called? They use a certain potato, which they engineered, is a certain which works great with the way they make potato. There's no way in the world you could eat that potato in another way. You never serve it at a wedding. It's horrible. It's the way they figured out how to grow a certain potato, the way they engineered it, that now it's, which you want to with oil and make potato chips, that's a whole chachma. Today everything is that's what he told me. And the truth is, right, who's the caterer over here? Yeah, right? You don't serve at a wedding and a choshev place only small potatoes. Now we'll serve mashed potatoes. I went always, look, it's always the small potatoes and small squash. What? Well, yeah, but they never would serve mashed potatoes. You know, a scoop of potatoes. Yeah, it's not choshev. It's not. Okay. Sagt der Mechaber, aber du gemrichim gedoilem, big fish that is salted. Eine necholema ele adet chak is only eaten through chak. Fichem tzala vi gechumasirem. Something that you only could eat al the chak. The Mechaber says it's aser. That means I don't know what it is. They used to have big fish, they used to salt it, and you still need to cook it. But if you want al the chak eat it, Mechaber says it's aser yesh matirem, and everyone paskins like the first day. Something that your only way is to eat al the chak, then there's a problem of bishalakim.
The reason it's cooked.
If it's cooked. Yeah, that means that is bishalakim. Let's say they fish, or I know many items, you could eat it if you push yourself. I was told by people you could eat potatoes too. I've heard of some people. Raw potatoes?
Yeah, it's doable.
Eat grass.
There you go. You got one more.
Okay. Chol davar shenechel chai al de chak bishul v'chum dini kedum gedoylem, and it will be 2 days. And Amasa we paskin that the Chronim, all the Chronim paskin is nechal de chak, then it's called bishalakim. That's how we accept it. Okay, he says ibus maliach einechel klal k'mo shichai, from this basher busim is basher meat is not eaten at all, he says. Yeah, well, today even, I ask people, no one eats meat raw. There are people in Germany and a certain type of very few.
French restaurant over here serves carpaccio.
Yeah, but it's a very, I asked people, it's a very big minority. It's not like sushi. Not like sushi. There are people in their restaurant, but very few. If you check the statistics.
There's a French restaurant that went out of business or whatever it is.
Well, meat is edible. We had this argument before because the person can cook it, just sear it, or just minimally.
I'm just saying, the bottom line, it's not eaten raw. That's the bottom line. It's not eaten raw. I'm saying years ago, 10 years ago, before sushi became a thing in America, it was only by the Japanese. You tell someone to eat raw fish. I remember eating raw fish. We looked at you, you fellow. Right. We heard the Japanese, a modern dimension, they eat raw fish. I remember that. And today, it's just like you want to show off, and by Mandel, you make a right. You want to show off, you show to your friends that's what you serve. You serve the most expensive, sushis.
So
Yes.
Sushi now,
There's no Bishul, Akum, and the sushi may what?
Fish at all.
Fish at all. Yeah, they fish the fish. Not all, I was told not all fish are used for sushis. The fish that used for sushi is not a problem.
So a piece of salmon
Salmon steak is not a problem nowadays. Right.
But with the tuna, you're not eating a real proper steak when you have sushi. It's a tiny bit. And
Such does make a difference. Who cares?
cutting it into a tiny
Who cares? But it's eaten raw. So, that doesn't make a difference. That doesn't. No. That's nothing. The nechachai means if people eat it raw. I don't have to eat a mouthful raw. I mean, this fish is eaten raw nowadays.
We're not consistent because earlier we said
Like nechachai is nothing to do with Shulchan Aruch. That's a separate category. Nechachai means something that could be eaten raw. There's no Bishul Akum. Period. Vegetables and fruit that you can eat raw, no matter how much the shiksa prepared and made it beautiful and appetizing, there's no Bishul Akum.
I think that we're on the topic. Can we buy lechatchila from Costco salmon, raw salmon?
Yeah, because it's salted.
That's a knife.
No, raw salmon.
Oh, the raw salmon? We spoke about it. Oh, no, we didn't speak about it. You could buy like a tchila raw salmon.
From Costco.
Yes.
And any
That's fillet. That's.
It's cooked. Because, let me explain this. This is a machaba in Busa B'cholov. And the machaba talks about herring in Busa B'cholov, this question. See, when let's get Costco, he wants to go to Costco and buy salmon, which the Costco, but you have to make sure that it has the scales. They're not enamel, just to say,
Cut it off.
No, you could see. I've seen, someone brought me from Costco once, and he showed me, you could see the scales. I've seen that.
But if you can tell
You see what I mean? You have to be, the Moshe holds you have to be an expert in all fish to say you could tell. How do you know this is a salmon? Maybe this is another red fish.
salmon and tuna are very distinctive looking.
Maybe there's another fish in not kosher that has that color.
There's no other fish that looks like salmon.
How do you know?
There's not. You've never-
I was told by someone who does a hobby as a fishing, a guy in my shul, he says there are other fish
That looks like salmon.
that look like
Salmon
salmon.
trout.
No. There is a non-kosher fish, he told me, that has the skin, that it looks a little bit like a salmon.
Pink, the color of
The pink, right. He told me the name of the fish.
Rabbi Shafan in Toronto, the Rav, he told me that if you can recognize the fish, what it is, then it's fine.
If you could recognize the fish from the fish.
He said the salmon or the tuna, you can buy.
Anyways, okay, I'm going to get to
If
some.
there's a white colored fish, then you don't know if it's
Right.
trout or catfish. But
Right. So let me just explain. The Mechaber says, what are you worried about? The guy, knife, he cut maybe swordfish, and who knows what he cut. But, Costco's doesn't cut 3 salmons. They cut 500 pounds of salmon. Yeah.
Maybe you're the first one.
Doesn't make a difference. There comes bottle baroiv. The Mechaber says in Tzadik Hey or Tzadik Vav, Mechaber says you're allowed to buy herring. So even though the guy cut with this knife, because by the time, let's say the first 10 slices, it got wiped off the naan. But he's cutting there another 100 slices. It becomes bottle baroiv. And like a tchila, you're allowed to buy it without a question.
Unless you see him take the knife from here and put it there.
Yeah, but I'm talking that he goes and I saw it. I went with, I looked at it. It's cut already. You don't come there with it cut. It's cut.
Cut watermelon also?
Yeah, cut watermelon for sure is okay. They use different knives for that.
If it's a small fish store?
Well, small fish, then you don't have this sort of. Depends, it
nephew,
depends.
of blessed memory, told me, he said, how do you think Mrs. Reichert used to buy fish, 40 years ago or whatever? You think they had the kosher fish market? No, she used to go to the fish market, Yankee, and they get their fish over there. That's how all the Jews bought
Well, they
fish.
probably bought a full fish, right?
So she used to bring her own knife, that's what they say.
But that's what we're speaking about.
That's what they say. That's right, she used to bring her own knife. But for sure, if the fish is whole or...
What's the question about it?
The question, let's say he just cut swordfish. So now there's fat on the knife. Now he's cutting the salmon. So there's gets wiped onto the salmon. Yeah, you could do that too, but
Wash the knife with soap. and that's it.
who watches it?
I have to say, excuse me, please wash the knife.
But you have to, you ever saw a fish knife? It's very hard to wash. Yes. It's a, so it gets wiped off. This is fat. You guys, you're never in the kitchen. You're never in the kitchen, Rabbi Reichik. Fish, you cut fish, raw fish. The knife is very, very fatty. It's hard to clean off.
They stick the knife in the ground because of that.
That's a whole other thing. The kids, you're allowed to buy Costco's fish.
As long as the scales are on.
And salmon.
Now, the label, is that good enough to say that there's scales? Because let's say the scales are gone. They skinned it. But the label says salmon.
Well, that is a machlekes sheshenoi Yehuda and Elchonon. If on a issa deraisa we say imen loy mara nafshaye, that means Costco is big enough and things are going to be mislabeled. They're going to have a lawsuit and babens around.
And who?
I think my Yiddish.
You're gonna have
A lot of problem. They have a lot of problem. You know Yiddish. I can't help you. Anyways, they're going to have a.
good assimilation.
You buy fillets without skin.
Anyways, but kids, they're going to have a lawsuit, an incredible lawsuit. So Mamela, there's a Noidibid who says it's okay. Others argue that say that's not good. So the truth is, we have to be samech on that. When you buy salmon, let's say, or if you buy Coke, how do you know the guy didn't mix in wine into the Coke?
Even if he did, it's possible. Oh.
I don't know. Who knows? We watch the news. The goyim are petrified. I said this a few weeks ago. They found the eggs with the salmonella, right? Do you know the guy in Iowa? This is a farmer. He lost the client over here, the Ralph's. You know how much Ralph's gave him business a year? $200 million. I couldn't believe it. Maybe I misheard. I only heard it on the radio. Maybe I didn't hear good. But it was such a lawsuit. And besides, the government was on top of them. Besides everything.
Not just Ralph's. Ralph's is part of Kroger. They're a national chain. They're the biggest
Right.
supermarket
Right.
in the country.
So just one chain is the guy. He could.
So on that note, any kosher fish that's labeled at Ralph's is fine. At Costco.
Yeah, l'chayra. I am not saying it should be. It should be okay according to many poskim. There happens to be an OU there. You know that. I looked at it.
Costco.
Yes, I saw there was an OU.
Frozen quality control.
What?
Sure, Costco, quality control
Right.
much better than Western kosher.
That's true. He says also a good point. They have better quality. They have Costco probably has better quality control than all the mom and pop rest. Because they are petrified of a lawsuit. I once went to one of the companies many years ago. I don't like to give ashgucha. I say Baruch Alkeinu Shivdurim and ashguchas. But I was young, and the Rav in New York Petrar Pesha should look at something. They couldn't find for me a long white coat, so I had to wait till we're looking all over. Wouldn't let me into the company until my whole beard was covered. And I asked the guy, "Where are you afraid of my beard?" We don't want a hair to fall into anything. Finished. For them is a lawsuit. The guy walked in, and being so tall, they all have to wear a light. It wasn't long enough, the coat. So they were shasat chak, they were making. They let me in. With a helmet. I know you saw pictures, people go, they're very makbid about this. They are very afraid of, they clean things not because of kashrus, they're just paranoid. If they find salmonella in their product, they lose millions. It's not just lose, but they lose millions. When you hear recall, you know what it cost them a recall? Millions of dollars of loss.
Okay, so we want to find like a fine line for this. So let's say the salmon you
So-
bring home.
So that's why, Api Alocha, it's okay. You can't say it's also to buy the salmon, but you were asking him. Okay, I want to move on to Boisai, because at least let's try to finish the simon before Pesach. Okay. I wanted to show you a shach, Yidzayin. Kusa Isra had the Chavushim. Chavushim is, you see shach? Yidzayin. Well, you don't have Yishafkas, yeah. Shach Yidzayin. Shach is on the left side of the page. Right. Chavusha Armoinim. Armoinim. Page Hay. Page Hay. The Shach is on the left side. I'll tell you what the Chassidim, the Bashem Tov, I think, said about the Shach. Bashem Tov said to someone that he had Bilbil Adas. So he told him to learn Shach. Sifse Koyen Yishmeridas. And do you know how old the Shach was when he wrote his Chibah? He was 24 years old. And he says in the Akdumah that he learned every Sif Kotten 101 times. And he died at the age of 42. And he wrote a Pirish Chashemishpet which boggles the mind. He wrote a Kinteris on Tokvi Koyen. You have to know Chashemishpet. It's one of the most complicated svarim. And he took him a month to write. So the Chidu, he didn't live so much there. He said it could take us a year to learn it, but he wrote in 1 month. Even the Alter Rebbe, when he quotes the Shach with such pachet, but you don't argue with the Shach unless, it's amazing.
Is there some sort of rule when the Shach and the Taz argue?
We mostly follow the Shach, almost all the time. So anyways, the Issa Behete, the Chavush Moinim is chestnuts, Rabbi Sai. Eine nechulun chaim, cannot eat raw. See the Shach? Eile al dei tchak. V'yajbu Bishul Akum. Now, I want to ask you, Rabbi Sai, when I grew up in New York City, there was, besides Hungarians, my mother's Zangesin Stark is a real Hungarian, and the Hungarians eat chestnuts. Because in Hungary, it grew a lot of chestnut. But he used to sell in New York. I don't know if you ever went to New York, they sell in the corners, the street corners, they sell. So I asked a lot of people, it's never oil shel chamalochem. I never saw chestnut being served. Never. That's what he said, Bismano he was. Armanim can. It's called Armanim. In Israel, it's also not served. They eat it, I've seen it. But not at fancy meals. So, I never see it, I never saw it. He says, so he says, all the Chachamim bring this down. You see, things change drastically. The time of this, we had no one ate chestnut unless it was cooked. It was oil shel chamalochem. His time, I don't know what you're talking about. We all eat it raw. So these things change. So the halacha is, it depends which country you are or where you live. Certain countries do it this way, some people do it that. That's the fines. Like you can, maybe a Monsi Chong, just show me a picture of the wedding, but it's a shtick by the wedding, a Thursday night wedding. It was a Thursday night wedding? Then New York became like a shtick. Became a shtick to serve chant at the wedding.
They do it at every wedding there, like in the Chassiduship.
Yeah.
Only on the men's side. No, it's not. It's by the dancing. They don't serve it at the
That's something else. That's not mechal. They serve the kigel there too. I once saw they serve a potato kigel. That's cheap, yeah. But for the main people, they don't serve that. And what's this chant?
Chestnuts in New York. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's not oil shel chamalochem. I don't know what they make. I don't remember. I was thinking. They mix it with what?
No, they sell tacos usually next to it. That's not the issue right now.
Yeah, it's for sure cooked in box. No, so they cook
Okay, let's go to Bosai. The guy salted a perish Ashnon. He smoked it. As with the smoked fish is okay. The maliach enikere say salt does not make it like heat. The gzeide ziva am ushen smoke enike mevushel. Now I want to tell you something on steaming. There's a huge machlokes in the early achreinim. Steam. But today, food that's processed are always steamed for some reason. I don't know why. But there's a huge machlokes. In the skuma kamat, Rav Achreinim holds steam is a problem b'shalakim. Because told us suesh is like eish. They steam. And they don't cook it, they steam it. But it's a big, some Achreinim held that it's okay. Steaming is not a problem. It's not the heat, it's the smoke that makes it edible, they say.
There's hot smoke and then there's cold
Yeah, but even the hot smoke the Achreinim bring down, I don't know, I'm not an expert, I see that there's a guy who worked on this, and he writes that even the hot smoke, it's not the heat, looked into it, it's the smoke plus a little bit of heat. There's hot smoke exactly and cold smoke, but it's the smoke that makes it edible. That's okay. That's okay. That's why smoke. But anyways, nowadays smoked fish is never served at weddings. Never.
What's lax is smoke, yeah?
They don't serve lax at weddings.
Oh, but they serve it at a fancy brunch and stuff like that.
Lax, never saw that. I saw the fancy breakfast when you go to a restaurant.
Like a brunch, they always have
They serve smoked fish, yeah?
Smoked fish,
All right. But anyways, but the bottom line is smoke is not a problem. Not a problem. Right, but that's why I claim also that I hold a microwave is not a problem either. If you ever go to Neuer's Bagel, and there was a big Neuer Bagel, they have a special type of microwave where they make eggs for you. Any type of eggs. I don't know how it works. It's a different type of a microwave. Bagel factor. So it's not a problem with shalakim.
Why?
Well, because microwave is not fire. It's not fire at all. Doesn't work with heat. It works with
Even if you wanted to call it fire, a microwave food would not be allowed. You're not serving microwave,
But let's say even in Tim Tsunamias. My problem is eggs. Today no one serves at kosher meals, but the Gemara says eggs is a bishlak. I'm not sure why. Let's assume it is. Let's just assume eggs. So, but they make it in the store. There's no bishul, and with microwave is not a problem bishlak.
Right. I'm just saying that eggs itself would be one of those foods where, based on how you make it, would determine.
No matter how fancy they make it.
Uh-huh.
No matter how, I'm just saying, no matter how fancy they make it, if you make it with microwave, it's not a problem. No, that's the, first of all, let me explain this. The eggs have to be checked. Rabbi, so I want to tell you something. The reason they used to check in Europe the eggs, because it was fertile eggs. Fertile eggs is a problem with the blood. Our eggs is not fertile eggs. You know what fertile eggs means? That the male mated with the female. So that blood is a problem. But eggs that are not mated, sometimes there could be, that blood spot is only marasa einig halacha. Second of all, the Gemara says it's only a minute to check it, because you're allowed, the Gemara says you're allowed to buy bread from a guy even though you put eggs in, because most of the eggs don't have a blood spot. You know what I'm saying? The only problem is if you want, there are health people lately in my neighborhood, organic, they go to Trader's Joe. If you eat organic and not whatever, there's a name for those eggs. Free range, organic, fertile eggs. If you eat it for 80 years, you live long. You know what I mean? And for a while, people were calling me, and I said, "What happened?" So then a lady says, "You bought Trader Joe," and I slowly told people, "You go to Trader Joe, you buy those eggs. There's a big problem. It's full of blood spot, full of them.
Yeah, the brown eggs.
Brown eggs, the fertile bugs, the free ran is all full of blood spots."
No, but if you buy organic and it's not fertile, but they have more blood spots.
They have more blood spots, yeah. But very often it's fertile. I'm not an expert. The people who call me, I just hear the second hand. When you're wealthy, you have time to yourself, so you go.
Research.
No, so they go to this store, McCurf the eggs in this store. Okay. The guy, someone turns on the fire for him. Sure. The Sephardi has a problem.
Doesn't it, but it's not all sugar.
It's another.
It's smarter than not, even if it's not all sugar.
No. Eggs, the Gemara says, is oil, so we have people machen with them.
So, but you can check it with a clear glass and it's fine, the organic eggs.
Yeah, we could crack it up and see it.
Huh?
You could crack it and see if it has you can see right away if it has a. Okay, let's move on. Beya api shiru the gamachai in Bishul yichom is a sira because it's nechal al deit chak. The eggs did not. T'morem amurim k'tzas she'ein chol ein deit chak bitter dates in Bishul yichom is sira. Again, it must have been oil shel chamluchim these dates. Okay, the Mechaber says, Kelim shebishul b'avdi gechovem lefenei nidvun shesh ben Bishul Akum tzrichen hechsher. First, Shita the Mach. This is the most common question people ask me. Do you need to kasher when the goy cooked? So it's Bishul Akum. It happens, do we have to kasher the kelim now? Not talking about worried about the treifa. The goy just
In your house?
in your house, the goy cooked by mistake, it turned out to be Bishul Akum, you have to kasher the kelim. Most often people, it's a goy cook, so they're not going to bother, but do you need to kasher the kelim? Mechaber brings ken shvishav l'chumel fenei nim devur mishesh ben Bishul Akum tzrichen hash omish ein tzrichen. Mechloikes if you need to kasher the kelim or you don't. But after ribra matzichem hechsher im ikeli cheres magila shul shpul medai mish ein li says ikem deraisa. Interessante Mechaber. Mechaber says, we know kli cheres you cannot kasher whatsoever. China you cannot kasher. Mechaber says, but since Bishul Akum is not Iker Deraisa, it's a Drabanan, which is, the other Drabanans that depend on the Deraisa. The Marshal. Cholav Akum will see some hold. But Gvinas Akum is Exeda, maybe the Goy made it with a Mamad. Here it's Chasnus, there's no Issa. So then you could kasher 3 times, the Cheres will be okay. This Mechaber, the Moshe, and really based on a Cham Tzvi, this is Nagay. I haven't asked more than once. People become from. A lady once showed me, she yarshened from a grandmother a China set, which is Beirusha for who knows how many generations. And it's extremely expensive. And her grandmother wanted that she should get it. It hasn't been used for 20 years because it was in the garage. Can she use it? And Moshe has a tshuva, it's such a half set, you kasher it 3 times, it's okay. Because you probably only use the Keli Sheni. Many Rishonim all the Keli Sheni is not Baleya. And this year is Shalman. It's after a year, but later learn Hilchas by wine. After a year, we say whatever was there. So Mele, that's his cooler on this. The one.
Shouldn't the year thing be enough?
No.
And China absorbs.
Yeah, but
You can't kasher kli cheres? You can't.
you cannot. So in a circumstance, a big hepsit, and you kasher it, it's over a year's time it'll be used. You kasher it 3 times, and the Moshe holds it okay.
Or I was told,
What's the method of kashering?
You take a pot of water, you put in a boiling, let it boil, and then you take it out, put it into another pot of hot water. 3 pots of hot water.
the same situation. We got China from my great grandmother, and I think they asked Rabbi Levitansky, and he says we went to an expert person who knows how to deal with China, and this expert brought the China back to its original level of creation, the heat level, what they did it, like where the China was created, and then brought it back down. No. It was an expert, and they
put it in a kiln. That's what
they killed, but it was like, so they brought it back to the level and brought it back down, and that's what we said. We were told that
We didn't need to be so mechanized.
Yeah.
But so how do we pass them practically?
Pass anyway, all Rav Achronim, and I think the Alter Rebbe and Hilchas Shabbos brings us, you have to kasher.
Not any kalim that were used for Bishul.
You have to kasher.
Not even that might be fair.
Yes, you have to kasher. We are machmed that you have to kasher Bishul Akum.
This is not the Torah, this is
Right, that the Achronim, Rav Achronim Paskin, that we I'm almost sure the Shulchan Aruch also and Hilchas Shabbos.
My house, I have to cash on the kale.
What do you say?
The Sephardim have to cash on the kale for them.
Sephardim.
For our standard, for their.
He says.
They want to eat from you, they have to kasher your
My
kelim.
kale.
Yeah, but the Mechaber here says Yeshomim Ken, Yeshomim Ra. He doesn't say that for.
The really interesting, the question is that, which is really important, if you know that this is very, very important, and many people don't realize this, and many Sfardim don't realize this. They eat out by other people, not realizing that the Shiksa does most of the cooking with Ashkenaz cooking. I have a few Sfardim ask me this. You know Sfardish Menhogim, or you became Ashkenaz? So as Sfardim, you don't even cash a glass, right? You use glass for Pesach. So the Sfardim, imagine, I heard this from a few Sfardim. They buy, a newlywed tells me that he's buying pure glass dish. Why are you buying glass? We just use it for Pesach, finished. We Ashkenazim so machmer, we hold the glass as Chedesh came in kasha. Sfardim hold it so makel that hold it's not even beleya. You don't even need. So
If we use it during the year and on Pesach?
On Pesach, that's what they do. They use glass, they buy officially only glass plates because they use it for Pesach.
What do they do with it? Just clean it or not?
Clean it. That's it. Wash it.
So there's nothing special needs to be done. They just take out their chametz glass dishes and it's fine.
You wash it and that's fine. Just the silverware to get they get new ones. That's it. I'm saying, and they have and this is a big chumrah. So you can't, if you know that he's a Sfardi, you know that that's what happened. You can't invite a Sfardi over unless you make sure.
You give them food that are not oil al shulchan malach. But vice versa, you can't go over to someone's house on the Pesach. An Ashkenazi person can't go over to someone's house.
No,
You're
that's
not
a whole
going there
nother
anyhow.
problem.
They're eating the beans and the rice.
It's a lot of beans. There's no issue with Kalim on Pesach, right?
What do you mean, Kalim?
Sfardi makes kiddies. He can make.
No, there's no problem with kidneys on Kalim.
No, but they're dishes. Can I use dishes?
The dishes is a problem. If they use the dishes, the Chabazig dishes for the Ashkenazim, you can't use it.
So just glass, because they're not going to use anything else.
Yes.
That's not.
Okay, I have to leave early tonight.